what's up?
I'm not sure what's going on with people and how their minds are completely warped on what they believe looking and getting old is. Obviously, everybody wants to stay young and look youthful forever, but I do think a lot of people have become ageist. And the slightest turn of looking a bit older, because that's just what happens in life, is like an end-all be-all. But a lot of kids are trying to look older without actually wanting to look older, and there's a lot of negative effects to doing that. The beauty industry will always thrive off of insecurity, but what's happening more is that a lot of people have noticed that there's no outlet for children to separate themselves from the adults. So now we have kids looking up to influencers and wanting to emulate them, but there was always a line drawn on what they could or couldn't do. Like, consider back in the early mid-2000s, there was a lot of teen and kid-friendly stars that kept themselves PG. Not because of their Disney contracts, but because they were still children, and although they hit a point where they wanted to see themselves as a grown-up, there were obvious boundaries that they maintained. And their transitions was more subtle. Now it seems like everyone is in the same realm of kid to straight woman. There isn't much of an in-between because a lot of the stuff is just being catered to either children and toddlers, then there goes everybody else. There's a market for teens, but I don't think people see it as profitable as it once was, since what's popular is just whatever's trending, no matter if the teens are watching. So as long as the money is being made, they really just don't care, because they're getting their coins regardless. If you look at Alabama and Jodie Woods, they look like they're in their 20s. Realistically, they go through the phases of what 20-year-olds are doing with putting on makeup, being the aesthetic influencer, and dressing like such. There's no thin line between what they're wearing versus what a 28-year-old is wearing. And when they finally do decide to tone things down and remove the makeup, they look like some beautiful 16-year-old girls. And then you have the girls that look super mature for their age. The way they conduct them and portray themselves is just like, you're 17? Where? They just look so grown. They move and dress beyond their years. It's not cute, it's overtly sexy and just grown. So you have the girls who are in their teens looking like older women. So who do the regular teens and preteens have to look up to if these are realistically the only option? We can discuss toxic beauty standards all day, but for the kids, it's becoming ridiculous that they feel the need to move beyond their years to this extent, because the internet has a funny way of making you feel imperfect. There's this craze that people are saying on TikTok that they feel like the Gen Z looks older for their age, and I think there's a lot of reasons why some may assume that someone is older for their age. Aside from the obvious of premature wrinkles, I think how you carry yourself and what you do to yourself in the world plays a huge factor also. Unfortunately for Kylie Jenner, she is part of the mega rich, the it girl that everybody wanted to be and look like, but she will always be an example of what went wrong. Kylie, as we know, was the biggest influencer around 2016, and she really did popularize the influencer look. And we all know that look that a lot of people were going after, convincing her audience that, hey, if you want lips like mine, buy my lip kit, when it was in fact just a bunch of fillers. And with that popularization, she became a victim of her own standard of beauty. We can't put all the blame on her, but she definitely had a helping hand. And everything was good until time started kicking in. As time went on, we started to see how overinflated Kylie's face was getting, to the point it was looking distorted and puffy. We've seen it a lot with Kylie's appearances within the last few years. That Instagram versus reality is a very real thing. The fillers that Kylie has accumulated over the years has aged her, and because of this, doctors have come out and explained the side effects of getting fillers at a young age.
Kylie's lips unedited.
So I promise this is not a shade post, this is an educational post. So what is happening here in Kylie's lips is actually called filler migration. Why filler migration happens is because if you're using too thick of a product, you're doing too much at once, injection technique, product type, it actually pushes outside of the lip border and ends up in the white roll area. I know unpopular opinion is that if you just wait, it will go away. That is absolutely not true. Once filler migrates, it will stay there pretty much forever. So if this is happening, this is something that you need to have dissolved and start over.
Why does Kylie Jenner look so old?
This question was in so many comment sections of videos I've seen of her recently, and a lot of you had tagged me in it, so I thought I would chime in on this. Quick disclaimer, I think there's nothing wrong with getting older or aging. It's a privilege. A lot of people don't get it. As a nurse, I meet so many people that are robbed that opportunity, so I just want to say that first. I believe the reason people perceive her as looking older is because she has had far too much filler put in her mid-face here, and that is contributing to her looking the way she does. At her age, she shouldn't have all this heaviness here. She said, when we have too much filler here, it weighs the face down and it mimics natural aging, because when we age forward and down. All our tissues move forward and down. Our apple of our cheek doesn't sit nice and flush against the bone here. It moves, it descends downwards and creates this heaviness we have here. And it also, she's got a lot of heaviness to her lower face as well, because when you've got too much filler in your young, beautiful 25-year-old face, it weighs all your tissues down. My treatment plan for Kylie would be to dissolve all of these cheeks, just get rid of all the filler and start again. It's the only option here. And you know, I'm not hating on her. I think she must have the weight of the world on her shoulder. Like, imagine the pressure she must have to look perfect all the time. And the thing is, I know if she looked like this and she was happy, because I meet a lot of clients like that, then fine. But I know she doesn't want to look like this. This is evident in a lot of the photos she posts on social media. You can see she doesn't post photos like this. All her photos are very filtered, very edited. You don't see any of this nasolabial fold she has. You don't see any of the heaviness here. Here's another example. I just think it's such a shame. Her injector has done her a massive disservice, and she's such a beautiful woman. Now, the problem Kylie may run into now is because she's had this large volume of filler in her face for quite a long time. I mentioned earlier, it stretches all the skin, the ligaments, the muscles out. When she dissolves this filler, she might find that everything doesn't just snap back like an elastic band. Some people it does, other people, if it's been there for years, it doesn't. She's only 25, so she might find that, you know, when she dissolves it all, everything just bounces back quite fine. Others feel they look older, so that's why I always advocate to my young clients in particular not to overfill. You're always better to not get in this position in the first place.
Beauty experts warn that excessive use of filler can cause sagging in the skin as well as migration, which means that the previously fuller skin looks depleted and aged once the fillers are dissolved or they migrated. Long-term use of filler can also result in muscle weakness in the face, and her filler was migrating in different areas, resulting in extreme pillow face. The glamorization of fillers allowed people to believe in the beauty of it, because we all know the saying, you're not ugly, you're just broke. But even when the rich gets all of these cosmetic work done, they themselves still don't see that ideal beauty within themselves, to the point that even when she would record herself for her business or personal, it's always heavily edited. Even when she was promoting Kylie Skin, she was using a filter to wash her face and show us the results of her products under a filter. It's all a facade. Not saying that fillers can't enhance you, but people are getting them so young to the point that when the time clock hits, it speeds up your aging process.
You should want your nose to almost hit your lip. Like,
That's what I think.
there you go. Plump her up. You should go to the mall, go to Cartier and get one more bracelet.
My mother says to keep it uneven, so I'm at 7 now.
I just feel like you're so grown up even though you're younger than you look.
Younger than I look.
How old are you? 17. What do you look like? 25.
25, you think?
You want the opposite effect, but Mother Nature waits for no one. You're speeding up your aging cycle by fighting against something that didn't even happen yet. Kylie now has gotten it dissolved, but she still has to maintain the filler look because her skin has now gotten used to it. Kylie can dissolve the fillers all she wants, but as the audience, we see that the damage is already done. And she will never necessarily look the same or have that youthful appearance that she once had. She's still beautiful, but this is the detrimental effect of wanting so much too soon. There's a lot of videos on TikTok where people have addressed comments about them looking older for their age.
So quick, tonight I was on live with my boyfriend and someone was like, how old's your girlfriend? And John jokingly responds 47, and the girl comments, oh, I thought she was early 30s. I am 23.
But in this girl's case, it's very interesting because I'm not sure why they thought she was 30. Maybe it was because of her voice or her nails. But if that girl would have told me she was 23, from the jump, I wouldn't have thought to myself, wow, I thought you were 30. Like, no, I would have believed she was every bit of 23. And it begs the question, what do you guys expect a 23-year-old to look like? And if women like her, who have a beautiful plump face with no lines or imperfections through digital eyes, are being told that she looks older for her age, how do you guys think kids are reacting to this? Because we are all on the same platform and we could all see the same things. This form of ageism where people are scared to reach past 30 are scaring people because the majority of people are insecure. Now let's dive into the mind of a kid where they are internally panicking because they feel like they can't necessarily keep up. You have a bunch of kids going to Sephora to buy retinol. What kid needs retinol or any other routine besides Neutrogena morning boost? Now, if you have acne, that's like a whole nother case. But if you're still growing and developing, these beauty concerns should be the last thing on your mind. So a lot of these kids are looking at retinol in the glass skin TikTok, trying to get perfect skin, and they're chasing after drunk elephant at Sephora. There's actually so much harm being done to kids from parents who don't have a care in the world. They're allowing their kids to do this to their skin. It's been reported that a young person's skin barrier is usually thinner than an adult's. That means it's more easily irritated by intense ingredients like vitamin C, exfoliating acids such as AHAs and BHAs, niacinamide, and salicylic acid are all popular within the beauty-obsessed teens, but overusing them at a young age can actually disrupt their skin barrier and cause certain conditions like dermatitis. And the retinol craze is even worse because a lot of dermatologists say that the earlier people use retinol the better, but that's not always true. When it comes to Retin-A and retinol, is that it does work, but the only problem with those drugs is that a woman's skin is already considerably thinner than a man's. And these medications take off the top layer, so you've lost the first or second layer of your skin, and though your skin looks fresh, bright, and great, it can actually get worse. With repeated use, retinol products begin to thin out your skin and will eventually make you more susceptible to UV rays if you're not wearing sunscreen all the time. So in that case, it's a whole different ballpark when you're in your 20s. But doing this in your teen years, all that crap should really be off limits. Especially since we all know sunscreen only lasts 2 hours. And they should really fix that because no one has time to apply sunscreen every 2 hours. Like, be for real. But if you're a kid, you're not going to periodically do that. So save yourself the trouble and don't cause any problems when there are none.
The 10-year-olds have taken over Sephora, and I fear that their interest in skincare is actually really damaging to their psyche. It's the beginning of the forever search for flawlessness, for the search for perfection, for the fucking constant search for youth. Like, you're 10. You don't need anything anti-aging because you're not aging. You're growing. Like, yeah, absolutely wash your face. Use a moisturizer. Use sunscreen every single day. But you don't need Drunk Elephant. You don't need it. Number one, the products fucking suck. Am I ruining literally any sort of partnership that I could possibly have with Drunk Elephant in the future? Absolutely. They fucking suck. Use fucking e.l.f. I saw a girl say that Sephora has become the new Claire's. And it's so fucking accurate. I'm not gonna go into a store that's supposed to be premium that has hordes of children in there absolutely destroying the displays and the samples. Like, they're finger painting with Danessa Myricks. Show some respect. It's chaos. And yeah, it's fucking annoying, but I think that it's a sign of a much bigger problem. It's like the constant search for perfection really leads me down the avenue of like 2000s battles to be as skinny as humanly possible. I know it's not the same. I know it's not the same because I was there. I was in the trenches. But there are parallels. There's always this chase towards something completely unattainable or something that's only attainable through genetics. Basically, it seems like a huge part of girlhood is looking in the mirror and being disappointed in what you see. It's heartbreaking to watch it happen to a new crop of girls who don't want to fucking hear a goddamn thing that you say. They don't. They just want to be the pretty girl. They see the pretty girls on social media and they want to emulate that. They haven't figured out yet that those pretty girls don't look like that in real life. It sucks because taking care of your skin is a healthy habit, but it can be a slippery fucking slope into an absolute obsession, and I'm seeing it, and it scares the shit out of me.
Is Gen Z really starting to look older? Honestly, it just depends on who you're looking at. But if you step outside, you'll see that's not always the case. But I do think a lot of people are ageist and get a kick out of telling people that they look old. But regardless, there's a lot of contributing factors to this narrative. Kids want to grow up so fast because realistically, there isn't a lane for teens anymore aside from influencers, and even they are trying to keep up. So we should all take that into consideration. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Toodles!